It was a quiet evening. The streets were empty, the air was heavy, and the only sound was the wind moving through the trees. The man walked slowly, his thoughts lost in the silence of the night. He did not know that this night would change his life forever. He was just an ordinary man, nothing special about him. His days were simple, his nights were simple too. But sometimes, in the calmest moments, destiny arrives without warning. From the corner of the dark street, something strange happened. He heard the sound of running feet, not the normal sound of shoes on the ground. It was faster, lighter, and filled with panic. Before he could even turn his head, a girl rushed toward him, her breathing sharp, her body trembling, and her eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. She stopped behind him, hiding her small figure, pressing herself against his back like she was searching for protection. He froze, unable to understand what was happening. Her voice, soft but desperate, whispered in fear, "Please, don't let them find me." The man's heart raced. He wanted to ask who she was. He wanted to step away, but something in her tone, something in her broken words, kept him still. He felt the weight of her fear, as if her terror had already passed into him. He looked at her carefully. Her clothes were not normal silver-like fabric. Shining even in the dim streetlight, her face was human, but there was something different. Her skin seemed softer, brighter. Her eyes not just glowing, but carrying sadness that no ordinary child could carry. Before he could say another word, he heard it. The sound that made the hair on his neck stand, metallic footsteps echoing through the street, heavy, sharp, like machines walking. The sound came closer and closer. The girl pressed herself even harder behind him, trembling, her hands gripping his jacket tightly. She whispered again, this time even softer. "They are coming, please. Don't let them see me." The man looked down the street. Dark figures appeared at the far end, tall, their bodies covered in strange armor. They carried weapons that glowed with a dull red light. They moved slowly, scanning the shadows, searching for something, searching for her. The man's mind spun. Who was she? Why was she hiding behind him? Who were these figures? And why did they feel so dangerous? He wanted to walk away, to pretend none of this was real, but her hand was still gripping him. Her fear was too real to ignore. The figures spoke in a language he did not understand. Mechanical voices, cold and sharp. Every sound sent a chill into his bones. One of them raised a strange device. A light scanned the street, the walls, the ground moving closer step by step. The girl hid her face in his back, almost crying, her small body shaking as if her last hope was the stranger she had chosen to hide behind. The man stood frozen, but deep inside, a strange feeling was growing, a feeling that he could not let her go. The scanning light passed just a few steps away. He held his breath, praying it would not stop, praying it would not shine on her glowing eyes. The sound of the device buzzed, then faded. The figures continued forward, still searching, still hunting. The girl finally raised her head. Her glowing eyes looked into his, full of tears, full of desperation. She whispered words that made his blood run cold. "If they take me, your world will not survive." The man stared at her, his mind filled with questions but no time to ask. The metallic footsteps grew louder again. The shadowy figures turned their heads back as if they sensed something, as if they knew. The night grew darker, the air heavier, the silence broken only by the sound of machines hunting. The man realized this was no ordinary girl, no ordinary night. He was standing in the middle of something far bigger than himself, and as the girl hid behind him once more, her breath fast, her voice trembling, he knew one thing clearly, whether he wanted it or not. His life would never be the same. The streetlight flickered. The shadows grew taller. The hunters came closer, and the man's heart pounded like never before. Destiny had chosen him, and he could not walk away. Not now. Not with the girl's life and maybe the whole world. Depending on him, the silence broke again. A sharp metallic sound echoed through the street. One of the armored figures stopped, its head turning directly toward them. Red lights glowing from its helmet. The girl gasped in fear and the man's body froze. The moment of truth had arrived. Would they find her? Or would she remain hidden? The night held its breath, and so did he. The red light from the armored hunter's helmet swept across the street. The man stood still, his breath trapped in his chest. The girl pressed herself tightly against his back, her glowing eyes hidden under her silver hair, her small hands clutching his jacket like her life depended on it. The figure paused, scanning, its strange weapon buzzing with energy. Then slowly it turned away. The group continued forward, their heavy steps echoing like thunder in the empty night. The man's heart pounded harder. Every second felt like forever. The girl whispered, her voice soft and broken. They will not stop. They can smell fear. We must run. Her words cut into him. Ordinary men did not run from nightmares like this. Ordinary men stayed safe, hid, and hoped danger passed by. But something inside him refused to leave her. He nodded, though fear burned in his chest, and whispered back, "Follow me." They slipped into a narrow alley. The walls damp and cold. Garbage scattered around. The sound of their steps drowned by the pounding of their hearts. The girl's breathing fast and sharp. She moved quickly but with fear guiding every step. Behind them, the hunters noticed the silence. One stopped, its helmet glowing brighter. The red light scanned the ground and caught something small. A footprint. Fresh, too fresh. The hunters hissed in their strange mechanical language, then broke into a run. The man and the girl had already reached the end of the alley. But when he looked out, the street ahead was wide open. No shadows to hide, only the pale light of the moon. He cursed under his breath. He looked left, then right. Nothing but empty roads. No time to think, only time to act. He grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her forward. They ran, their steps echoing, her silver clothing shining faintly in the moonlight. Too bright. Too dangerous. He tried to cover her with his jacket, but the hunters had already spotted movement. A loud metallic cry tore through the night. Then came the sound of weapons charging. Red beams cut through the air, striking the walls, burning holes where stone once stood. Sparks flew. The girl screamed softly but kept running. The man pulled her into another street, their bodies moving through the dark like shadows chased by fire. The hunters followed, faster than any human, stronger than any soldier. Every second the man wondered, why him? Why had she chosen him? Why did she hide behind him? And what did her words mean? If they catch me, your world will not survive. The chase grew harder. His lungs burned, sweat covered his face, but the girl never let go of his hand. Her grip fierce, her eyes glowing with fear and hope together. They turned into another alley, this one filled with broken crates and a rusted fence. He tried to climb, but the metal screamed under his weight. The hunters were too close, the red lights glowing brighter as they approached. The girl suddenly touched the fence, her hand glowing faint blue. The metal softened like wax, opening a gap. "Go," she whispered, her voice urgent. "Hurry." He pushed himself through, then pulled her after him, just as a red beam shot past, burning the wall, missing her by inches. The hunters roared in anger, their steps shaking the ground. The man and the girl reached a deserted factory yard, broken windows staring down like empty eyes. The air smelled of rust and dust. Shadows everywhere. They hid behind an old truck. Their breathing heavy, the hunters entered the yard seconds later, scanning, searching, their voices sharp, echoing across the yard. The girl looked at him, tears shining in her glowing eyes. "You should leave me if they catch me. They will kill you too." The man shook his head, still panting, his voice rough but firm. "Not leaving you, not now." Her lips trembled, as if she had never heard such words before. As if kindness was something new to her, she whispered, "Why, you don't even know me." The man almost laughed, though fear still burned in him. "Maybe I don't, but I know you're scared. And I know they are monsters. That's enough for me." For a moment, silence hung between them, a strange bond forming in the middle of chaos. But the sound of metal crushing stone broke it. One of the hunters had thrown aside the crates. Getting closer, the girl gasped. The man grabbed her hand again, and they ran through the broken door of the factory, darkness swallowing them. Inside, the factory was a maze of rusted machines, chains hanging, glass crunching under their steps. The hunters followed, their red lights glowing like eyes of demons. The man pulled the girl behind a machine, both crouching low, his hand over her mouth to keep her quiet, his own breath shaking. The hunter's footsteps echoed inside, slow and patient, predators hunting prey. The girl's tears slipped down her cheeks, her glowing eyes staring into the dark. She whispered so softly he almost missed it. "If they catch me, your world will burn." The words struck him again, deeper this time, heavier. He looked at her, at her trembling body, at the glowing sadness in her eyes, and he knew whatever she was, whoever she was, this girl carried the weight of something far greater than herself. And as the hunters moved closer, their weapons buzzing with deadly energy, the man realized he had stepped into a war that was not his, but now, it was his fight too. The night outside was silent, but inside the factory, the chase was far from over, and the man's fate, and maybe Earth's fate, had just been sealed. The factory was silent, the air heavy with the smell of rust and dust. Broken glass crunched softly under the man's shoes as he moved carefully. his heart still racing from the chase. The girl clung to his arm, her small body trembling, her glowing eyes darting around in fear. They crouched behind an old machine, the metal cold and sharp. The hunter's footsteps echoed inside, steady, patient, like predators who already knew their prey was near. Red light scanned the dark corners. Sweeping over walls and floors, the man whispered, his voice low. "Stay quiet, don't move." The girl nodded. Though her eyes were filled with tears, she held her breath, pressing closer to him, as if his presence alone could shield her from the monsters. The hunters moved past slowly, their weapons buzzing, their voices mechanical and cold. They spoke in a strange language, their words filled with static. The man could not understand them, but the sound itself felt dangerous. Minutes passed, heavy and endless, until the footsteps faded deeper into the factory. The man finally exhaled, his chest aching from holding his breath. The girl's voice broke the silence, soft, trembling, but urgent. "You must know the truth. You must understand why they hunt me." The man turned to her, his eyes searching hers. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low. "Why are they after you?" She hesitated, her lips trembling, her hands clutching a small object hidden under her silver clothing. Slowly she pulled it out, her fingers glowing faintly as she held it in the dark. It was a crystal, no bigger than a child's toy, but shining with a deep blue light, not steady but pulsing, like a living heart. The man stared at it, confused. "What is that?" Her voice cracked as she spoke. "This is proof. Proof of what they have done. Proof of what they will do. They are not soldiers. They are hunters. They burn worlds. They erase entire planets. My planet." Her voice broke and a tear slid down her cheek. "My planet is gone." The man felt his stomach twist. He wanted to deny it, wanted to believe this was madness, but the truth in her eyes was too strong, the pain too real. She continued, her voice heavy with sorrow. "They came with fire, with ships that darkened the sky. My people tried to fight, but their weapons are stronger than anything we had. They destroy without mercy, they do not conquer, they erase. They leave nothing alive, only silence, and now they have seen Earth." Her hands shook as she held the crystal tighter. Inside this, there are records, memories, proof of their crimes. It carries voices of the dead, images of the fallen, and the key to stop them. If it reaches the right hands, maybe your world can prepare. Maybe humanity will not die like mine. The man felt a cold shiver run through his body. The weight of her words pressed down on him. This was no lost child, no accident. This was a survivor carrying the last hope of her people. He asked, his voice tight, "Why me? Why hide behind me?" Her glowing eyes met his, filled with sadness and something deeper. "Because you did not turn away, you stood still when I begged. Others would have left me, but you stayed. Destiny led me to you." The man swallowed hard, his mind racing. He was just ordinary, not a soldier, not a hero, yet now he was holding the fate of a world in his hands. The girl wiped her tears quickly, her voice becoming sharper. "They will not stop. They know I carry this. They will follow me until I am caught, and if I fall, your world falls too." The man's chest tightened, but before he could answer, a sharp metallic sound echoed through the factory. One of the hunters was near, its heavy steps shaking the floor. The girl gasped, quickly hiding the crystal back under her clothing, her glowing eyes wide with fear. "They cannot touch it if they get it back. It will all be lost," the man nodded, determination rising inside him. Fear still burned, but something stronger now lived within him, he whispered. "Then we don't let them take it." The hunter's red light swept across the broken walls, closer and closer. The man pulled the girl back behind another machine, his mind working fast, but as they moved, his foot crushed a shard of glass. The sharp crack echoed across the silent factory. The hunter stopped, its head turning, the red glow burning brighter. The girl covered her mouth, her breath shaking. The man froze, every muscle tense. The hunter raised its weapon, scanning the dark. The silence stretched thin, ready to break. The girl's hand reached for his, her small fingers clutching tightly, and she whispered words that pierced straight into his heart. "You are my only hope now." The man stared at her, his heart pounding, his fear shifting into something new, something stronger. He realized this was no longer about choice. This was a path that had already begun, and he was walking it. The red light grew brighter, footsteps heavier. The hunters were closing in again, and as the man held the girl's hand, the blue crystal glowing faintly under her clothing, he knew the secrets were now his burden too. The truth was in his hands, and the future of Earth had just become his fight. The old factory was dark and heavy with silence, but inside the man's chest, his heart still thundered. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound threatened to reveal them. The girl's small hand clung to his, trembling but refusing to let go. The hunters had moved deeper into the building, their metallic voices echoing through the walls, their red lights sweeping the broken floor, scanning, searching, patient. They would not leave until she was found. The man crouched behind the rusted machine, his breath shallow, his mind racing. He had just learned the truth. Or at least part of it. The girl was not from Earth. She carried a crystal that held the last hope of her people, proof of the monsters hunting her, and now somehow he was part of it. He looked at her, her silver clothing still faintly glowing in the dark, her glowing eyes lowered, her lips trembling. She looked so small, so fragile, yet she carried the weight of galaxies on her shoulders. He whispered, his voice low but sharp. "Tell me everything, no more half-words, no more secrets I need to know. Or I cannot help you." The girl hesitated, her eyes wet with tears. "You should not trust me. I bring only danger. Everyone I stay near, they die." Her words were heavy, filled with sorrow, but the man shook his head. "Maybe, but you came to me. You asked for help, and I'm still here. So speak." Her glowing eyes lifted to his, shimmering with fear and pain. Then she whispered, "My family is gone. My friends are gone. My world is ash. I watched the sky burn. I heard their screams. I ran. I kept running. And I was the only one who survived. Do you understand? I am all that is left." Her voice cracked, her small body shaking as tears fell freely now. The man's chest tightened. He had no words strong enough, no comfort deep enough, but his silence was not emptiness. It was a choice. He let her speak. "They want the crystal because inside it is the truth. But not just the truth, also their weakness, a way to fight them. But they cannot let that happen. If I fall, it falls, and if it falls, your world burns," she said, her voice breaking on the last word. The man stared at her, the fear in his heart mixing with something else. Anger, not at her, but at the hunters, at the idea of worlds burning, of families erased, of a child forced to carry such pain alone. He leaned closer, his voice steady. "Then you are not alone anymore." "Not while I'm here." Her lips trembled, disbelief flickering in her eyes. Why would you risk everything for me? I am nothing to you. I am not even human." The man almost smiled, though his face was grim. "You are scared. You are hunted, you are alive, that's enough. I don't need you to be human to know you deserve to live." Her breath caught, her glowing eyes widened, as if his words had struck a place in her heart untouched by hope for too long. She whispered, "No one has ever said that to me." For a brief moment, in the middle of danger, there was a silence between them that was not fear, but connection, fragile but real. Then a sharp metallic crack shattered the moment. One of the hunters kicked a door open, its red light sweeping across the hall. The man grabbed the girl, pulling her low. Both pressed flat against the floor. The hunter moved slowly, its weapon buzzing. Scanning, searching, it paused. As if sensing their presence, the girl held her breath, tears sliding silently down her cheek. The man's body tense like stone. The hunter turned away, its heavy steps echoing as it left the hall. But the danger was not gone. The factory was no longer safe. The man whispered, his voice firm, "We have to move now. They will find us if we stay." The girl nodded weakly, wiping her tears, but her voice broke again. "If you follow me, you will die too." He shook his head, gripping her hand. "Then we die running, not hiding." The girl's glowing eyes searched his face, as if testing his truth, and in that moment, she saw something she had not seen in anyone for a long time. Resolve. Not for himself, but for her. Before she could answer, a sound came from behind them, soft but clear, the sound of metal scraping against the floor. The girl's eyes widened. The man turned, and his stomach dropped. One of the hunters had followed them silently, its red light glowing brighter. Its weapon already aimed, the girl gasped, clutching the crystal under her clothing, her whisper sharp with terror. "They found us," the man's mind screamed, fear surging through him, but beneath the fear, a fire had already been lit. He pulled her behind him, standing between her and the weapon, his voice rough but steady. "See." The hunter's weapon hummed louder, the red glow filling the room. The girl's tears fell again, but this time, she looked at him with something more than fear. She looked at him with trust. The factory trembled under the weight of silence. The night outside offered no escape, and the man realized his promise had already been made, not with words but with choice. The hunter's red light glared across the rusted floor, its weapon raised, buzzing with deadly energy. The man stood frozen, his body tense, his mind screaming at him to run, but his feet refused to move. Behind him, the girl clutched the crystal under her silver clothing, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The metallic voice of the hunter filled the air, sharp and cold. Though the man could not understand the words, he understood the meaning. It had found them. The girl whispered, her voice breaking, "You cannot fight them. They are stronger, please don't try." But the man cut her off, his voice rough. "Then I'll die standing, not hiding." Before she could answer, the hunter fired. A beam of red light cut through the machine beside them, sparks flying, metal melting. The man grabbed her hand and pulled her to the side, rolling across the dirty floor as another beam scorched the wall behind them. His heart pounded, fear clawed at him, but something deeper kept him moving. He had no weapon, no armor, only instinct and desperation, yet he refused to let her go. They ducked behind another machine, the man scanning the ground, searching. His eyes caught a broken metal pipe, rusted but solid. He snatched it up, gripping it tight like a sword. The girl gasped. "That will not stop them." The man shook his head, his voice grim. "Maybe not, but it will slow them." The hunter's steps thundered closer, its red light sweeping, the buzzing weapon humming louder. The man's hand shook, his breath sharp, but he refused to drop the pipe. As the hunter turned the corner, the man swung. The pipe crashed against the creature's helmet with a loud crack. Sparks flashed. The hunter staggered, but only for a second, then it roared, grabbing the pipe and tearing it from his hands like it was nothing. The man fell back, his chest heaving. The hunter raised its weapon again, ready to strike. But then something unexpected happened. The girl stepped forward, her small hands glowing faint blue, her eyes burning brighter. She whispered in a voice not her own, deep and sharp, "Stay away." A wave of energy burst from her hands. Slamming into the hunter, the metal giant stumbled back. Crashing against the wall, the glow on its weapon flickered, the red light dimming for a moment. The man stared in shock, his mouth dry. What was that?" The girl's hands trembled, her knees weak. She fell against him, whispering, "I cannot hold it long, it takes too much. We must run." But the sound of more footsteps shook the factory. 2 more hunters entered, their red lights blazing, weapons raised. The man cursed under his breath, grabbing the girl again, pulling her behind a stack of crates. Beams of red light cut through the air, burning holes in the wood, the smell of smoke and ash filling the room. The girl gasped, holding the crystal tightly. "They will not stop. They will burn this place to the ground if they must." The man's mind raced, his lungs burning, sweat dripping down his face. He spotted an old staircase leading up to the broken roof. He pointed, whispering, "There, we move now." They ran, beams slicing past them, one grazing his shoulder, the pain sharp, but he kept moving, pulling her up the stairs, the hunters following, their heavy steps shaking the floor. They reached the roof, the night air cold and sharp. The city spread out below them, quiet and unaware of the war now unfolding. The man looked around desperately, searching for escape, but the roof was high. The streets far below, the hunters emerged, their red lights glowing brighter, their weapons humming, surrounding them. The girl clutched the crystal, her tears glowing in the moonlight. She whispered, "I cannot run anymore. They are too many. They will take me. And earth will fall." The man's chest tightened, his fear rising, but his voice came out steady. "Not while I breathe." He picked up a broken piece of concrete, his hands bleeding, but his resolve unbroken. He stood in front of her, ready to fight with nothing but stone and courage. The hunters aimed their weapons, the red glow filling the night, but then the girl screamed, her voice raw, desperate, filled with pain and power, her eyes blazing like stars. A burst of blue energy exploded from her body, a shockwave that shook the roof. The hunters staggered, their weapons flickering, the concrete beneath them cracking. The man shielded his eyes, holding on to her tightly as the energy burned the air. When it faded, the hunters were still standing, but weakened, their lights flickering, their steps slower. The girl collapsed into his arms, her body trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "I cannot do it again." The man held her close, his breath heavy, his eyes locked on the hunters, slowly regaining their balance. The fight was not over, but for the first time, he saw it clearly. She was powerful, but fragile, and if she fell, humanity would fall with her. It was up to him to keep her alive. No matter the cost, he tightened his grip on her, staring at the hunters closing in again, his heart pounding, his voice low but unshaken. "Then I'll fight until my last breath." The night around them rumbled with danger. The hunters prepared for another strike, and the man realized the battle for survival had only just begun. The rooftop was broken and cold. The night sky above stretched endless and dark. The hunters' red lights burned brighter as they circled closer, their weapons buzzing with deadly power. The man stood in front of the girl, his chest rising and falling, sweat dripping, his arm bleeding, but his eyes locked with defiance. Behind him, the girl struggled to breathe, her body weak, her glowing eyes dimming after the burst of power she had released. She clutched the crystal close to her chest, trembling, whispering, "I cannot fight anymore. My strength is gone." The man tightened his grip on the broken concrete in his hand, though it was nothing compared to the hunter's weapons. He refused to step aside. "Then I'll fight for you," he said. His voice low but fierce, the hunters moved forward, their heavy steps shaking the rooftop, their mechanical voices echoing like doom. One raised its weapon, the red glow humming louder. The girl touched the man's arm, her voice soft, broken, but filled with truth. "No, you cannot stop them, no matter how brave you are. They will kill you, and they will take me, and then Earth will burn. There is only one way left." Her glowing eyes met his, tears sliding down her pale cheeks. "I must give myself up." The words stabbed into him like knives. He shook his head fiercely. "No, you can't. If they take you, it's over. You said it yourself." She closed her eyes, her lips trembling. "If I go, maybe they will spare you. Maybe you can escape. Maybe you can keep the crystal safe. It is not me that must survive. It is this." She pressed the crystal into his hand, the faint blue glow pulsing against his skin like a heartbeat. He stared at it, his throat dry. "No, I can't. I won't let them take you." The girl smiled weakly, a sad smile that carried all her pain. "You already gave me more than anyone ever did. You gave me hope, but hope cannot fight forever. I am only one life. Your world is many if one must fall. Let it be me." The man's chest ached, anger and sorrow burning together. He wanted to scream, wanted to fight, but her glowing eyes begged him to understand, begged him to let her go. The hunters stepped closer, their weapons aimed. The night humming with death, the girl stood weakly, her small hand gripping his tightly one last time, her voice shaking but strong. Promise me you will run, you will deliver this. You will fight for Earth, promise me. You will remember me." The man's eyes burned, his breath sharp. He wanted to refuse, but the weight of her words crushed him. The truth was clear. This was not about choice anymore. It was about survival, not his, not hers, but the survival of an entire world. He nodded slowly, his voice breaking. "I promise." The girl's tears fell. Glowing in the moonlight, she whispered, "Thank you." Then she turned, stepping out from behind him, her small figure shining faintly in the red lights of the hunters, her voice echoing across the rooftop, filled with courage that rose above her fear. "I surrender." The hunters paused. Their weapons lowering slightly, they moved closer, their voices mechanical and sharp. One reached out its armored hand. The man gripped the crystal tightly in his fist, his heart breaking as he watched her step forward, every part of him screaming to stop her, to pull her back, but his promise held him in place. The girl looked back one last time, her glowing eyes meeting his, her lips moving silently. "Live for me." Then the hunters seized her, pulling her into their iron grip. She did not resist, her small body trembling but her face steady. She let them take her so he could live, so the crystal could survive. The man's breath caught in his throat, his body shaking with rage and sorrow. He wanted to charge, to fight, to die beside her, but he held the crystal tighter, her words echoing in his mind. "Promise me." The hunters turned away, carrying her, their red lights fading into the night, her silver figure glowing faintly until it vanished into the shadows. The man fell to his knees, the weight of loss crushing him, the crystal still pulsing in his hand, faint blue light shining through his fingers, her last gift, her last hope. He looked up at the stars, his tears burning, his voice breaking as he whispered, "I will remember you. I will fight for you, I swear it." The rooftop was silent again, the hunters gone. The girl gone, but in his hand the crystal glowed brighter, as if her spirit still lived within it, as if her sacrifice had given it strength. The man stood, his body weak, his heart shattered but his resolve unbroken. He turned away from the empty rooftop, from the silence, from the pain, and he walked into the night, carrying not just the crystal but her memory, her sacrifice, her promise. The battle was not over. It had only begun, and he would fight, not just for Earth but for her. The night felt colder than ever, the rooftop empty, the girl's silver glow gone. The hunters had taken her, but her last words still echoed inside the man's chest. "Promise me, keep fighting, remember me." He held the crystal tightly, its blue light pulsing softly, steady like a heartbeat. Every time he looked at it, he saw her face, her glowing eyes full of fear, courage, and sorrow. He had lost her, but he had not lost her hope. The man walked for hours through silent streets, his body aching, his mind heavy, but his grip on the crystal never loosened. He had no map, no plan, only one thought: find someone who could use this. Find someone who could prepare Earth for what was coming. When dawn broke, the city looked the same as always. People rushing to work, cars honking, children laughing. No one knew that the night had almost ended in fire. No one knew that monsters had walked their streets. No one knew that a girl from another world had sacrificed herself to save them. The man felt the weight of that truth pressing on him. But he could not stop. He found scientists, leaders, those who studied the stars. At first they did not believe. But when the crystal pulsed in his hands, glowing brighter, when it projected images of burning worlds, screaming voices, ships darkening skies, they fell silent. The crystal showed them the truth. The hunters' crimes, their endless destruction, their plans for Earth and the weakness hidden within their machines. It was proof, it was warning. It was the weapon humanity never knew it needed. The leaders stared at the man, asking him where it came from, who gave it to him. His voice broke as he answered, "A girl. She was not from here, they took her. But she gave me this. She gave me her hope, she gave me her life so we could fight." Silence filled the room, heavy, unshakable. And in that silence, humanity changed, no longer blind, no longer unaware, now awake, now ready. The scientists worked day and night, studying the crystal, learning its secrets, unlocking the hunter's weakness. Armies began to prepare not with fear but with fire. For the first time in history, humanity looked to the stars not with wonder, but with resolve. The man stayed close, watching them, guiding them, reminding them of her sacrifice. Every time doubt arose, every time fear crept in, he repeated her story. The girl who lost her world but gave Earth a chance. And slowly her memory spread. Soldiers spoke of her. Scientists whispered about her. Leaders carried her name in their meetings. She was no longer just one girl. She was a symbol, the spark that lit the fire. The man stood often at the edge of the city, staring at the sky, wondering if she was still alive, trapped in the hands of the hunters, suffering for the choice she made, or if she was gone, her life already taken. He did not know. But he never stopped whispering her name to the stars. One night, as the armies prepared, as ships were built, as weapons were forged, the man climbed another rooftop, holding the crystal high, the blue glow lighting his face, his voice strong though his heart was heavy. "This is for her," he whispered, "for the girl who ran, for the girl who hid behind me, for the girl who gave everything so we could stand. Humanity will not fall, not while we remember her." The wind carried his words into the dark, the stars above watching in silence. But somewhere far away, maybe in chains, maybe in light, the girl's spirit heard when the first human ships rose into the sky, their engines roaring, their weapons armed. The man stood among the soldiers, not a general, not a commander, just a man who had once been ordinary, until a night changed him forever. He carried no weapon stronger than courage, no armor heavier than hope, but his eyes were steady, his steps firm. He had made a promise, and promises were what made humans unbreakable. The hunters would come again, their red lights burning, their weapons humming, their voices cold. But this time Earth would not hide. This time humanity would not bow. This time the fight would not be one-sided, because one girl had believed, one man had chosen, and one world had awakened. As the ships cut through the sky, the man whispered again, his voice fierce and unshaken. "Humans will fight, humans will rise, humans will win." And in that moment, as dawn touched the Earth, humanity stood tall to the hunters. Earth was just another target, another world to erase. But they had forgotten something, something stronger than weapons, something brighter than machines. They had forgotten what it meant to be human, and humans, inspired by the sacrifice of one alien girl, would remind them the war was coming. The stars would burn, but humanity was ready. Humanity was not alone anymore, because even in loss, even in sorrow, the girl's gift lived on. Her hope now belonged to Earth. And through that hope the man stood. The people stood. Humanity stood. The hunters would learn the truth soon enough. Humans were not prey. Humans were not weak. Humans stood tall.